I want to drill down on that topic a bit, because what you started out by describing was that this collaboration, and when we say industry, we're taking a very broad definition. It might be industry, it might be government agencies, it might be military partners, it might be community groups for many of our folks. Sure. But it's given you flexibility, right? It's allowed you to do things sooner or in a different way. Sam, you've talked a lot about the point that there is shared mission there. So in effect, what you're saying is you get friends with horsepower that come into the equation. But to Mike's point, this idea of different currencies, we all have our yardsticks, and again, as I tried to allude to in my opening comments, maybe some of that yardstick for those of us inside the university is shifting a bit, but talk about some of the practical, day-to-day managerial, operational challenges, and I think your transition there with the currency is a big part of that, sure. That you've had to deal with to keep a foot in each camp as a boundary spanning person in these realms.
So let's start with budgets, right? Because that's where it really, the rubber meets the road. Mm-hmm. If you're going to do work with industry and your students can't get publications from that work, then you need to add something into that budget so that you can support them to do other projects. So when we started, we incorporated a 15% academic program fee in everything we did. It went right on the top. And I never had an industry that questioned that fee. We just explained to them that, you know, why we needed it. We're an academic institution. Mm-hmm. And they've supported us on that. Now, recognizing that we were able to do the work, ultimately, it cost them less to do the work with us anyway. Right. So they didn't mind paying that. But that was key. And then we were allowed to accumulate those funds and support our graduate students with those funds. And so that was new to the university. They'd never seen that. They didn't know how to deal with it. But that's where you just keep working until you get the answer yes, right? Don't tell my people I said.
And I think one of the stories you shared as we thought about this event was a similar point on FNA as well. That ultimately it's still a cheaper project than they could get it done anywhere else.
It is, and I think what we need to understand about industry and academics is we look at indirect costs and FNA costs differently. So when industry sees a 47.5% FNA rate, they immediately think profit. Mm-hmm. That's not what it is. That's all of our infrastructure that we've invested in, right? And so it really is, and people that have worked with us at OSP on industry contracts know, they'll get tired of hearing this, but we just don't, and we don't talk about FNA with industry. It's a fully loaded contract. This is the cost this is what it's going to cost you to do the work. How we spend that money internally is our business. All you need to know is how much is it going to cost you? And they're good with that, typically. Sometimes they want to drill down. Anyway.
Well, I like the idea of different coins of the realm or currency. I really don't, for my lab and our work, it's not, we don't want to get involved unless we know that we're going to be able to complete work that gets toward publication. That's where one of the things our experiences have been different, because I'm working really almost post-market. You're really working pre-market. Yeah, that's right. And so in the post-market world, we want to get involved because we can publish the work and we can do it in larger scale or again, friends with power, I think you said. I want to make sure I didn't say friends with benefits, but you know, friends with power. But you know, I think the idea here is that we want to get involved when the currency is publications and when the amount of support is in buckets closer to assistantships. Essentially, keeping the lights on in my lab and students in there to work is one of the initiatives. So sometimes it's almost like a cash flow thing, right? This just keeps my lab moving while we go and work on other things that might even be higher yield. But we got to get these students and the lab has to stay open for me to be able to pursue the next bigger pot. So I think that you alluded to that earlier in your comments, Mike, and I think it's another good way to think about this.